ডিয়ার স্টুডেন্টস, আজকে আমরা আলোচনা করব এইচএস সেকেন্ড ইয়ারের ইংরেজি সাহিত্যের ফ্লেমিঙ্গো বুকের কয়েকটা বড় প্রশ্নের উত্তর নিয়ে। তো প্রথমেই থাকবে টেক্সচুয়াল কয়েকটা কোয়েশ্চন আনসার। তো প্রথমেই আছে, হোয়াট ওয়াজ ফ্রেঞ্চ এক্সপেক্টেড টু বি প্রিপেয়ার্ড উইথ ফর স্কুল দ্যাট ডে। অথবা প্রশ্নটা অন্যভাবে হতে পারে, হোয়াই ডিড ফ্রেঞ্চ ফেয়ার টু গো টু স্কুল। উত্তর হবে, ফ্রেঞ্চ ওয়াজ এক্সপেক্টেড টু বি প্রিপেয়ার্ড উইথ হিজ লেসন on participles. His French teacher M.Hamel had announced that he would ask questions on participles on that day, but French did not know even the first word about them, so he was in dread of scolding from M.Hamel and feared to go to school. পরের প্রশ্ন থাকবে, হোয়াট আনইউজুয়াল থিং ডিড ফ্রেঞ্চ নোটিস অ্যাবাউট দ্য স্কুল দ্যাট ডে। উত্তর হবে, ফ্রেঞ্চ নোটিসড সামথিং আনইউজুয়াল অ্যাবাউট দ্য স্কুল অন দ্যাট ডে হোয়েন দ্য স্কুল বিগ্যান দেয়ার ইউজ টু লট অফ কমোশন, বাট দ্যাট ডে এভরিথিং ওয়াজ কুইট অ্যাজ অন সানডে। পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, হোয়াট হ্যাড বিন পুট আপ অন দ্য বুলেটিন বোর্ড। উত্তর হবে, an order that came from Berlin had been put up in bulletin board. The order was that only German was to be taught in the school of Alsace and Lorraine from the next day onwards. The new German teacher would join the school. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, what changes did the order from Berlin cause of school that day? উত্তর হবে, the order from Berlin turned the great commotion of the school into a standstill. As it was the last French class, M.Hamel became more sympathetic to his students and taught his students with more patience. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, হাউ ডিড ফ্রেঞ্চ ফিলিং অ্যাবাউট M.Hamel অ্যান্ড স্কুল চেঞ্জ। প্রশ্নটা অন্যভাবে হতে পারে, হোয়াট চেঞ্জ কেম ওভার ফ্রেঞ্চ হোয়েন হি হার্ড M.Hamel's অ্যানাউন্সমেন্ট। উত্তর হবে, ফ্রেঞ্চ ফিলিংস অ্যাবাউট M.Hamel অ্যান্ড স্কুল ওয়ার টোটালি চেঞ্জড নাও। The order from Berlin aroused patriotic feelings in him. He suddenly developed a strange fascination for his language and school. His books were his old friends now. He suddenly grew respect for M.Hamel. He even forgot all about his ruler. He also ignored how cranky M.Hamel was. এবারে লং আনসার টাইপ কোয়েশ্চনস। তো প্রথমেই আছে, ফ্রেঞ্চ থিংস will they make them sing in German, even the pigeon? What could this mean? উত্তর হবে, the above extract means that the German was harsh and hostile with the citizens of this French village to the ultimate extent. They could take away the education of children in school for their political interests. The villagers had suffered a lot under the enslavement, the drafts, and the order of the commanding officer. French wonders whether these Germans could be heartless enough to impose these restrictions on the birds and animals of the area. This shows the extent to which the Germans could fall in the field of humanity for the fulfillment of their political interest. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে, হোয়াট ওয়াজ দ্য অর্ডার ফ্রম বার্লিন? হাউ ডিড দ্যাট অর্ডার এফেক্ট দ্য পিপুল অফ এলসেস, পার্টিকুলারলি M.Hamel অ্যান্ড হিজ স্টুডেন্টস? এটা 2012 ইংরেজিতে এসেছিল পরীক্ষায়। তো যাই হোক, উত্তর হচ্ছে, এ শকিং অর্ডার হ্যাড কাম ফ্রম বার্লিন। দ্য স্কুলস ইন দ্য টু ফ্রেঞ্চ স্পিকিং ডিস্ট্রিক্টস এলসেস অ্যান্ড লোরেইন ওয়ার টু টিচ অনলি ইন জার্মান. It had great influence of the people of Alsace. Patriotic feelings were aroused in them. The village elders had already sat on the last benches with students. M.Hamel declared that it was his last lesson in French. A new master would come to teach German. This aroused patriotic feelings and love for French in students and the village. The village elders came to show their respect for M.Hamel. He had served the community faithfully for 40 years. M.Hamel spoke at length about the French language. He called French the most beautiful language in the world. It was also the clearest and the most logical language. He expressed his dismay that the people of Alsace were quite indifferent to the learning on French. He advised them to guard it among themselves and never forget it. Their language was the key to their unity and freedom. Everyone listened to him with rapt attention and respect. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে draw a character sketch of M.Hamel as it is shown in the last lesson. উত্তর হবে প্রশ্নটা অন্যভাবে হতে পারে ডিসকাস দ্য ইমোশন অফ M.Hamel অন দ্য ডে অফ দ্য লাস্ট লেসন। উত্তর হবে ইন দ্য লাস্ট লেসন Alphonse Daudet presents M.Hamel's character with all sympathy and respect. He is presented as a traditional and faithful schoolmaster. He always kept his terrible ruler under his arm. Mr. Hamel was a hard taskmaster. We also see the other side of M.Hamel's character after coming the order from Berlin. He was a changed person now. He realized that it was his last lesson in French and that the next day a new teacher would come. He would teach them in German. Patriotic feelings aroused in M.Hamel and became extra soft and gentle towards his students. He did not scold French for coming late, nor did he use his ruler when French got mixed up and confused. He declared that it was his last lesson in French. M.Hamel was highly respected both by his students and the village elders. He had served faithfully for 40 years in the same school. The village elders came to pay their respect to such a grand teacher. M.Hamel loved France and French from the core of his heart. He considered French as the most beautiful language in the world. He asked the Frenchmen to guard it among themselves and never to forget it. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে how does M.Hamel make the pupil realize how they, the student and he have been responsible for not learning their language. প্রশ্নটা অন্যভাবে হতে পারে who according to M.Hamel were responsible for French's inability to read and write. উত্তর হবে M.Hamel, the school teacher, did not want to blame Franz alone for his lack of interest for not learning. Franz was not alone who put off learning till the next day. According to M.Hamel, it was the great problem of the whole of Alsace that put off learning for the next day. Even Franz's parents, who wanted him to learn also, often put him to work on the farm or at the mills for little profit instead of sending him to school. M.Hamel also blames himself because he too used to give his students holiday for his personal works or for some other reasons. He wasted valuable times in watering his garden and fishing. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে describe the unusual thing that Franz noticed on the day of last lesson. এটা 2013 ও 17 ইংরেজিতে এসেছিল। প্রশ্নটা অন্যভাবে হতে পারে give a detailed account of scene in the classroom of the day of the last lesson. এটা আবার 2015 ইংরেজিতে এসেছিল। প্রশ্নটা অন্যভাবে হতে পারে how different from usual was the atmosphere at the school on the day of the last lesson. এটা 2022 ইংরেজিতে এসেছিল। তো যাই হোক উত্তর হচ্ছে Franz noticed something unusual about the school on the day of the last lesson. Usually when his school started there was a great bustle that could be heard from the street, but on that day everything was still and silent as on Sunday morning. M.Hamel also appeared to be a transformed man on that day. He had put on his finest clothes which he never wore except on inspection and prize days. It was expected that French would be scolded for being late, but M.Hamel did not scold him. Even he did not chide Franz when he got mixed up and confused. Franz became more surprised to see the village people sitting in the backbench in the classroom. They were sitting silently like the student. It was their tribute and respect to French language as well as French teacher M.Hamel. পরের প্রশ্ন হচ্ছে who was French? What did he think about M.Hamel? Did he change his views about M.Hamel? Illustrate at least 2 changes that came in French towards his teacher and French. তো উত্তর হবে French was a student of a school in Alsace. He was in great dread of scolding from M.Hamel as he was expected to be prepared with participle, but he knew nothing about it. But French had to change his opinion about M.Hamel. An order came from Berlin. German language was imposed on the people of Alsace and Lorraine. When he came to know that it was the last lesson, he began to respect him. M.Hamel had served faithfully for 40 years in the same school. He felt sorry that he had neglected the language. He shared his views about French as the most beautiful language in the world. He listened to M.Hamel's last lesson with full attention and respect. তো স্টুডেন্টস, এই হচ্ছে বড় সবটা প্রশ্নের উত্তর। তো আগামীতে আমি পরের চ্যাপ্টারের প্রশ্ন উত্তর নিয়ে আলোচনা করব। তোমরা ওগুলো ফলো করলে আশা করি তোমাদের উপকারে আসবে। তো বিশেষ করে কয়েক বছর ধরে যে প্রশ্নগুলো আসছে ওগুলো আর সে সঙ্গে সম্ভাব্য আরও কিছুটা প্রশ্নের উত্তর আমি ভিডিওতে তুলে ধরলাম। তো আজকে এই পর্যন্ত। সুখে থাকো, শান্তিতে থাকো।